we have been having fun and we have been having serious discussion on very important subject, the most important subject in our life, because that is really answering a big question. What is the purpose of our life? Why are we here? And why are we so different from each other? What is the whole game? And the answer have been given in so many ways. But ultimately the answer comes that we have a different shape than all other life forms. We are very individuals, separately made up. Our appearance is different. Our thumb prints are different. Our fingerprints are different. Our iris of the eye is totally different. Our ears are different. 1 in a billion resemble each other, all of these things. There is such a variety of forms created. And what is the meaning of this, that we should have so many forms and then so much status, high and low, very rich people, very poor people, very healthy people, very sick people, hospitals full of people in misery and casinos full of people gambling away their hard-earned money. What a stark contrast is going on. What is the purpose of a life form like this? What is the purpose of the creation like this? When you look at this, you discover that if you take this world as real, it's a terrible place. If you question people at large, are you happy or unhappy? And they give you an honest answer, 99% will say unhappy. So what kind of place are we in? Some people claim we are very happy. I say, come and stay with me for 2 days. And they cry and tell me all their sad stories. So many people are living up to appearances, just to appear good, to appear happy, appear beautiful, appear something. They're living in a world of appearances. If we take this world to be real, then it's a terrible place, and we cannot justify God creating this. There's no way that you can praise a God who is responsible for creating a world with this kind of misery, this kind of inequality, this kind of discrimination. But God is not defined like that. Nobody defines. They say we are all children of God, He is great gracious, He is very merciful. All the adjectives we use for describing God are all good ones. Nobody has ever told me there's a bad God. If there's a bad God, they call him devil. They separate him from God. And then again, who is the devil? Who made up that story? Or who made up the real devil? Did God create that too? Did God create all evil? Did He create? What is this game going on? It's such a strange experience for a real thinker who studies religion and finds that God is being praised all the time, and yet He is being credited for the whole creation, and the creation is so bad. Doesn't make sense at all. But this is not the reality. The truth is that this has been created as an artificial show. It's a movie theater. This world is just a movie theater of shadows, and therefore it's not real. Therefore, none of these things are actually real. They look real. They are made real for the sake of the drama. That makes sense. That God should be able to show that we can create stark differences, great contrasts, in order to help us to choose what we like is better. And that way, this show has some meaning in it. So therefore, these people who we call perfect living masters, what they have done is a very simple thing. They have, through the process of withdrawal of attention, discovered that their self is in a state of dreaming. It's a dream state, and therefore a dream is being created to make a lesson for us. That this world is a great school where we are learning lessons, and the lessons are being taught in this particular way to present things on a shadow screen. That this is what happens if you have these differences. Rise above them. Even if you go to all the three levels of this world, the physical level, the astral level, the heavens and the hells, if you go to all the gods we are praising, we don't know when we say God, who are we talking to? Are we talking to the creator of this physical universe? Are we talking to the creator of the astral universe? Are we talking to the creator above that? Are we talking to the creator of creators? Where do we end? How do we know all this? Fortunately, there have been human beings who have been able to uncover the secret. And they have been able to find out that this is a multiple show and multiple states of dreams. Dream within dream has been built up to give a lesson to consciousness. So that consciousness has a choice to delve into experience that is far away from itself or go into an experience within itself. The perfect living masters tell us that the three worlds in which this duality exists are the world of the physical matter, the world of sensory perceptions or astral world, the world of the mind, causal world where all concepts are arising and from where the ideas percolate to the astral and the astral solidifies in the physical. It's a very simple way of explaining it. This is how this has been set up. But all these three are being controlled by the opposite of the ultimate creator. In order to show that even the creator who is beyond opposites can create an opposite and become an opposite himself. Therefore, the three worlds are all mental worlds. They are governed by the mind. The mind is one universal mind. It is individuated into us. The mind and the supermind is a copycat of the soul. It tries to do what the soul does. The soul has a totality, mind has a universality. The soul individuates and the mind individuates too. The soul descends to a physical body, the mind joins hands there. So the mind is just a follower. And the mind has been constructed like that. So it can follow the soul at all levels. And it has come down to the point where the mind now is an accessory to the soul and wants to be so close to the soul, to be mistaken for the soul, that is bound like this, hand in glove, that you can't even distinguish where is the soul, where is the mind. You can't even know what the difference is. And the power, conscious power of the soul, consciousness, which is the power of the soul, has merged with the thinking power of the mind. And when we think that is consciousness. When we perceive, that's consciousness. When we move in a physical body, it's consciousness. When we can do all physical things, it's consciousness. Consciousness is descended down through the mind into these three levels and been so merged in it that you don't know how to separate it. There is really no way to separate the mind from the soul except by understanding that the functions of the two have never been the same. We mix up the functions too. The functions of the mind and the functions of the soul have always been different. The function of the mind is to receive interpretations, to receive impulses from the lower creation of the physical body and the astral sense and perceptions, to receive the experiences that these are being exposed to in this show and to interpret it. The mind interprets everything. The mind also puts things in a certain context and in a certain position, one after the other. The mind analyzes. The mind can break things into pieces and look at each part separately. That's the function of the mind. The mind rationalizes. The mind says this makes sense and this does not. It distinguishes between what is logically correct and what is not. These are all functions of the mind. The mind only functions in space and time which it creates. The universal mind creates universal time and space. The individuated mind in the physical body lives in that space and time. We are living in the space and time created by that. The mind cannot think without space and time. The mind cannot do anything without space and time. There is no function of the mind. Sensing, perceiving, interpreting, discussing, negotiating, talking, writing, rationalizing. Nothing can be done without time. They all take time. The smallest thought takes time. If all time is taken away, mind dies, disappears. Therefore, the mind is totally dependent on time and space. It created its own environment, its own ambience, and is living happily in that of time and space. What about the soul? Consciousness that has been so so tightly put together with the mind. What is the function of the soul per se? The soul is responsible for the experience of love. The mind can never love. The mind can talk about it. The mind can comment upon it. The mind can destroy it, but does not create love. Love is a direct function of our soul and our consciousness in its own capacity. Intuition, having a gut feeling of something, is not a function of the mind, it's a direct function of the soul. Experience of beauty and joy and bliss is not a function of the mind, it's a function of the soul. When the two work together, we constantly ascribe a lot of things to the mind which really belong to the soul. Some people told me, intuition, you say, is a direct function of the soul. I can create intuition mentally. I said, let's try. Let's see an experience. How do you create? And he said, I am going to have an intuition or something. There I go. I said, is that your concept of intuition? Intuition has no in it. Intuition has no time in it. When you get a gut feeling, there's no time involved. It's just a feeling comes suddenly with no time. When you have experience of love, there's no time. The comment upon it takes time. Mental chatter about it takes time, but not the experience of love. The experience of joy and bliss at seeing something does not take time. All functions of the soul are non-time, non-space. They can occur without any of this. They do not need this platform of time and space to function. Therefore, the distinction is very sharp actually between the two, but we don't see it. We want to analyze everything with the mind, so we get confined to the parameters of the time and space and cannot go beyond it. If we try to explain everything within that, even intuition we want to explain here, love we want to explain here, we want to explain everything within the realm of the mind because they are so tightly woven together. Perfect living masters say if you want to really understand why the show was set up, why there are these levels, mental levels, what are they trying to prove, what are they trying to teach, you have to go to a point of reference, point of vision which is beyond the mind. If you're within the realm of the mind, you'll never see it. You have to go to a point where you are beyond the mind, then you can see why it's being created, why it's happening. They say that the point of vision where you can see who you are as consciousness, as the soul, and be able to view the whole creation of the mind, the creation which in India they say is created by the Brahma, the creator, should be in Par Brahm, beyond Brahm. They claim that you will never know what the soul itself is. And you will never be able to see the function of the mind and why it's created. You never learn the lesson why this world has been so created in duality unless you take that vantage point of going to Par Brahm, beyond the mind. So you have to take that position beyond the mind. There are so many masters, gurus, all over the country, in India, and now all over the world, who are teaching things that only revolve around in these three worlds of the mind. They never give you any vantage point to see why it's all created. All kinds of theories are being made. What's the purpose of life? You give an answer mentally, it doesn't satisfy anybody because you have not been able to look at the purpose of life as created by the mind. Therefore, the perfect living masters are defined as those who have themselves gone in their own experience as human beings beyond the mind, at least to Par Brahm. And then they are able to explain to us what the mind's function is, what the soul's function is, and how we all can go to Par Brahm. The Par Brahm is not the final stage. There are mystics who have gone way beyond Par Brahm. They have gone to totality of consciousness where the individuation disappears. In Par Brahm, the soul is still one soul, and second soul, and third soul. But beyond that, there is nothing but one totality of consciousness which individuates to become a soul, like the universal mind at the causal plane individuates to become our mind in this physical body. Therefore, those masters, and there are many of them who have come in India and elsewhere, who have taught people to go beyond the mind, and we still consider them in the rank of perfect masters because they go beyond the mind. But they go only up to Par Brahm, this level just beyond the mind, and we call them Sad Gurus. They would be written like S-A-D, Sad Guru, G-U-R-U. But those who have gone to the totality, we distinguish in Indian description to Satguru, who reached the truth. S-A-T-G-U-R-U. Sadguru and Satguru. But in our definition of a perfect master, we consider both of them as perfect because they are taking you beyond the mind. The real beauty of the show is to go into totality. Some people are so trained by the mind to think of separation, division, that they think the same rules must be applying to Par Brahm also. And they say, don't you think it is going to be terribly lonely in totality, in Sachkhand? We are only one. What will happen to us? It's very lonely at the top always, they say. And is that going to happen to us? What's the good of going there? In fact, I had a different reason for not going the way they were describing the spiritual path is. When I was very young, they told me the spiritual path consists of a drop of consciousness, which is the soul, having been separated from its source, the ocean, is now suffering because of the separation. And the drop is trying very hard somehow to go back to its source, the ocean. And one day, through the help of these masters, the drop will travel back, journey back on a spiritual journey, go and merge in the ocean. I said, wow, that's quite a game. I would never be a party to that. Why? I said, I am a drop right now. I have some identity, some function, some individuality, some prestige maybe of existence. What will happen if I emerge in the big ocean? I'll be destroyed. And what will the ocean gain by one drop more in the ocean? Nothing will happen to it. It's the worst lose-lose game I could think of. I lose my identity, the ocean gains nothing. What kind of spiritual journey is this? It took me some time to realize that is a wrong description of the spiritual journey. The spiritual journey is not of a drop separated from the ocean. The spiritual journey is of the drop still in the ocean. All that has happened is that the awareness of the ocean has been shrunk to the level of a drop. How big? It could be a very small drop. It could be a big drop. It could be still bigger drop. A bigger drop has more awareness. Smaller drop has less awareness. A tiny drop has very little awareness. Then I realized we are tiny drops, but never left the ocean. Spiritual path is not traveling somewhere to merge anywhere. Spiritual path is to expand your awareness to discover who you always were, the ocean. That made sense. Now that's a win-win situation, that you can have the best of both worlds. You have your ego and your individuality here. You can expand. You are the totality also. And if you are the totality, You can view all the drops there and be any drop you want at any time. Therefore, you have the best of both worlds. And that is a true spiritual journey then. The spiritual journey is not travel, it's an expansion of awareness to totality, to discover who we really are. That is why when somebody says, why did the soul leave there? Was it because of adventure? What did it want to do to come here? It shouldn't have come here. Well, it never came here. It set up a great illusion. It set up a great method of illusion to create reality. It created levels of reality, one after the other, to have a greater experience of awareness. It was not done to get any other experience. Since totality of consciousness is totality of awareness, it was to develop more awareness and awareness experience that all this was created. Creation enhances your awareness. It gives you chance to see many different kinds of creative ability that you have as consciousness. And we have been able to experiment so well. If you travel in meditation to other levels of consciousness, you will see there are many worlds existing. This Earth planet revolving around the sun and going in a Milky Way galaxy with billions of galaxies around looks so big. The galaxies look big and the cosmos looks so big. But when you go to the next level, the cosmos is much bigger than this. It's indefinable because we think this one itself is infinite. If this is infinite, how can be there anything bigger than infinity? There was a metaphysical poet in England, John Donne. He was a metaphysical poet because what he wrote was a combination of science and literature. And he wrote a love poem. He says, methinks I lied all winter, that my love was infinite, if spring make it more. If spring can make it more, it can't be more than infinity. So I was wrong, I was lying. We are liars when we say this world is infinite if another world is bigger than infinity. So, but it is there. And there are life forms very different from our life forms, which you can encounter and watch and see because they have been created the same way like this world has been created. It's the power of awareness that can lead you to have those experiences, and then you see how small a slice of life we are watching in the physical plane. The variety of life and the variety of experiences that have been created are unlimited. It appears that whatever we call the creator or the totality of consciousness has been experimenting with all types of forms, all types of life forms, all types of creation, all types of things, buildings, things. I can't use any particular word, but all kinds of creative ability has been shown in setting up these stages. And most of it can be seen and experienced in the three stages of the mind. The physical, the astral, and the causal contains all this creation. Above that is not creation. Above that is the knowledge of the self. Above that is the knowledge how individuation takes place in consciousness, how the primordial consciousness functions, and how it leads to a multiplicity of conscious points. When you reach the top, you can never be lonely because you are the many and the one at the same time. You are all the souls, being experienced as all the souls, and being one total at the same time. How can there be any loneliness? But this concept is not understandable by the mind at all, because not in time and space. When we talk of time and space, mind can conjecture for a little while that if the whole of the creation took place in a non-time, zero-time moment, the whole creation took place. All experimentation was done in zero time. And then we brought it down into a new level where we had to use a new machine called the universal mind to spread that creation out. Spread it both in time and space. Spread it into past, indefinite past, indefinite future, and indefinite space, infinite space. You spread it in that, you create a wonderful world to experience. It was a good deal done. But it does not mean that the creation was done one by one. That was done here. The creation that takes place one after the other, whether it's done in 13.5 billion years or done in 7 days or 6 days, the creation was done here in the mental realm. Because there is no time there. Above the mind, there is no time at all. Now, this looks very funny to us, that we are talking of a state of consciousness where there is no time. We forget that in reality, there is no time at any level, not even here. Then why are we experiencing time? Is there time here, right where we are talking now? Let me examine that for you for a moment. What is time by our physical definition? Time consists of past, present, and future. If we eliminate past, present, and future, there is no time. We have to have a past, and we have to have a future. Then only there is time. Yet none of us is living in the past, nor in the future. We are living in the present. Does present have any time? Or is it just the meeting point of past and future? Does present have a nanosecond in it? No, by the time I said nanosecond, it was past. Before I said it was future. Nobody realizes that even the present in the physical world has no time at all. The now is timeless. And yet we can live in no other time except the now. How come that we are living in a timeless present, and yet we feel time all the time? We are calculating time, how long it takes. How does it work? Let's examine. Let's take what we call now. I just spoke to you now. That means immediate past I'm calling now. That's all. Whenever I use the word now, I'm talking of an immediate past. It's not present, it's past. But I call it now. It's just a misdefinition we have given to the present by calling a little past now. Okay, what is future? Consider the three functions of the mind: hoping, fearing, anticipating are disappeared. Supposing there is no way that we can hope for anything. Supposing there is no way to be afraid of anything. Supposing there is no way to anticipate anything, there will be no future. Absolutely. You take these three words out from your dictionary, future disappears. Have you ever noticed that? That future is being created by these three functions? That if we don't have these functions, there is no future at all. We are making the future by doing these three things. Okay, how do we do this? How do we hope? Where do we hope? We hope in the now. It's past. We fear in the now. It's past. It's immediate past. We anticipate in the now. It's past. Therefore, the whole future we think is the future is actually the past. People don't realize that even in this physical world, the notion of time is very different than what we think it is. We are creating an illusion, complete illusion of time. And even a little contemplation tells us that time is a flow of an experience which creates a feeling that there is a present and there is a future, whereas there is nothing but past. Then comes another mystery. How can anybody live in a past? There is no way to live in a past. A moment is gone, you can never live in it. There's only one way to live in a past. Memory. You can remember it. You can remember it so distinctly to make it present. But you won't be really living in it, you'll be just remembering it so clearly that you think it is happening now. Now imagine, think over it. We are all recalling something already recorded earlier in a time frame that is zero. And we are calling it the present. There is no present here. There is no future here. We make it through memory. Now another problem comes up. Memory means something happened earlier, and that's why we can remember it. When did it happen? There was no time for it to happen. It can only happen where time can be held still and something imposed into it. This feature of imposing an event by holding time together does not exist in the physical world and the physical level of consciousness at all. It only exists in the astral plane. You go to the next level of consciousness, you'll see there time can be held and an event placed into it, and that can become memory and relived here. We are reliving a whole world created at another level. Not created by somebody else, created by our own self, our own consciousness, but at a different level. When you go to the next higher level, you find that all events and all possible combinations and permutations of life have been created already. They already pre-exist. We created them way beyond before we were ever aware that we were here. They have been there for millions of years. All possible types of life forms, all possible destinies, all possible karma is already pre-written there. In our Indian records, they are called Akashic records or Akashic records. Some people use this expression here also, that we can go to the causal plane and see the Akashic records. The Akashic records contain everything that's been programmed, and that's what creates the memory of our physical life, and we live through it by recalling so clearly that we think it's happening at the time now. It's a very funny situation, but that's the truth. A little contemplation will convince you that's what is happening. Now we say that if everything is already recorded in the Akashic records, did we choose our own destiny from there? If we did, then we are really the makers of our destiny, no matter if it's predetermined or not. The truth is we all picked our own tape, our own DVD there, which we are playing now here. So when we picked that, we had a real choice. We used the choice. We used the choice of our consciousness. And once we picked the choice, why did we choose such terrible things? One reason was we knew it's not real. We're just going to play it out. And we'll just be participants. That's not bad. We'll not only be audience watching a show on a screen, we'll have create a 3, 4, 5-dimensional, 11-dimensional physical universe in which we will participate also. We'll be the audience actor at the same time, and it'll be great fun to be on the stage of the act. So that's why we came here. So we picked up that particular thing, and we'll get out of it when it's over. It's not real anyway. It's just a DVD to be played. So we chose any DVD we like. But some of the clever ones, some clever souls, individual souls who came to pick up the DVD, they said, maybe there's a trap in it. Yeah. There can be a trap that we get into the play and think it's real, and then we are there forever. Because the DVD itself allows that even if you come down for one lifetime, that life cannot exist without a prior life. A karma cannot be created for one life without a prior life creating that karma. Now you are coming for the first time into this life where the karma to be created. Well, you have to create an artificial karma. That means the DVD itself contains all your past lives. The DVD itself contains all your future lives. You come for one life. Therefore, I ask this question, are past lives real? Sure. People say, well, they have to be because they're creating this life. Not necessarily. Because they're part of the DVD that you cannot have this life without past lives. Therefore, the past lives are built into the same DVD. You never lived them, but when you act here, you live them. By coming into one life form of a human life, you have already created all the past lives necessary. And this is a very strange thing that you cannot create any past life without having a prior past life. Therefore, you have to create infinite past lives. Infinite past lives, infinite future lives to have one present life. But how can that be? What is infinity? What is the definition of infinity? How can infinity be created? Infinity is as far as you can go. Infinity doesn't mean it's really an infinite number. People forget this. Infinity is as far as you can go. You want to go further? Go. You have to stop somewhere. That's the end of infinity. Both sides, infinite space, as far as you can go. Then what happens? That's the end. You want to go further? Go ahead. Infinity has moved away, but then it must end. Human attention does not have an infinite capacity. Therefore, it defines its own infinity. In mathematics, they define infinity like this. 1 plus half is 1.5. You add half of that, 1/4. It becomes 1 3/4. You keep on making half of that, 1/8, 1/16. You can keep on dividing infinity. You can keep on doing it forever. But in mathematics, they say, if you really reach infinity, you will be reaching 2. That's the definition. That it'll become 2 if you really reach infinity. There's a definition, mathematical definition. Similarly, there are other definitions in philosophy. The point I have been making is that once you understand and realize and go to these levels of consciousness, you're able to see the justification for creating a world of polarities, a world of duality, a world of pairs of opposites, and why it was created and why the nature of it is not reality. There is no reality in any creation. It's all created for an experience. And once you realize it's all created for an experience, it's just a dream. And therefore, it doesn't matter what kind of dreams we create, so long as we can learn a lesson out of it. I'll continue with you tomorrow, and that's Bandara Day, and ponder over this notion of time and space and how we think we are living in real time, and there is no real time here at all. That we are all recalling something that happened in a pre-recorded DVD, which is our destiny. I am not real at all. Do I look real to you? When we go and see a movie, that's not real also, on the screen. But we think it is real. Otherwise, we never enjoy it. We only enjoy a movie on the screen when we think it is real. We cry, we laugh at the movie, and things happen. In Orlando, in Disney World, they have a 3-dimensional movie where things come out at you. And they have now put some things that some animals come, and they have some air pumps here. When the air pumps, everybody picks up their feet. The animals have come here because they're coming from the screen. And then the animals make such a stink. The stink bombs are placed under the chairs. And then there are other places where they've created virtual reality. In virtual reality, they make everything like real. They're perfecting it to such an extent that you'll never know if it is real or it's not. They're making all this stuff right here in a way, for a person who is doing meditation, it explains why they're doing it. To explain that's exactly how this is going on. When a professor in Harvard University told me, you talk of higher levels of consciousness, don't you think you're just making it up? Don't you think it's a power of suggestion that helps you to make it at? I said, absolutely, I agree. It is the power of suggestion that's making it, but do you realize that whatever else you are seeing is also power of suggestion? Give me any proof it's different. He had no proof.